Okay. All right. Well, welcome everybody to the February Region 4 District Connect to Thrive meeting. I wanted to share the quote that is on top of the PowerPoint here, that if January is the month of change, February is the month of lasting change. January is for dreamers and February is for doers. And I felt like this is truly where we are right now, in the fact that obviously this fits with the theme. So of course the dreamers part is what attracted me, but just understanding that, we are at a point where, we saw a vision, we worked hard to create that vision, and now it's time to execute the vision. And there's so much great stuff that's happening. Clubs are kind of getting back into, projects and getting back into recruiting and, really making February a time for executing on things that they planned in the beginning of the year. So with that, I will share our agenda for the evening and what we're going to cover. So to figure out where all my buttons are. So tonight we've got some really cool stuff going on. And like I said, we'll skip the introduction since everybody on the call has been here before, but we'll hear from our own John Walters with an update on how we're doing on member development with some good tips to share. And then we get a really, I think, Scarlett, almost hot off the presses based on what I saw today, a update on our ARC partnership and some things that we'll be focused on with that as we move forward. And then we'll wrap up with some important dates and any discussion or questions, any idea sharing that you guys want to do in addition at the end. So with that, I will turn it over to John. And John, if you just want to tell me when to skip to the next slide, then I can go ahead and drive for you. But we have our membership development chair, John Walters, with an update on growth. So John, take it away.
Roll it. Okay, first we've got just a brief update on the clubs in process. I got some news back with regard to the family club that Denise and Mark are heading. As noted, they are focused on homeschool families, sponsored by Frederick Martinsburg, located in Friends Wilderness in Charlestown, and a new prototype family club. Next. Here we go. The update was that they're planning a meeting for March 11th for a sensory prom scheduled for the 25th. They've got a project meeting on April 15th for a new service project, and they're expanding the scope of the club beyond just homeschool families to persons involved in the IDD, either as servers or recipients. Next. The focus for presentation tonight is on membership growth through projects. And my sense is that projects are much more exciting than SEEK meetings. Sorry for those that who were raised on SEEK meetings. But they do allow you to demonstrate your club and Civitan's goals and the people you serve, gives them an experience of the rewards of community service, gives them a chance to meet and work with and bond with your club members. Let them know who you are instead of just sitting in the same room and do something with you. And a chance to see where their skills can make a difference. Well, when they see you not doing something or not doing something as well as they can, gives them a chance to feel good about making a contribution. That's me saying next. The best projects for club growth. I mean, we've all done and been to projects where we all gather and, at Ronald McDonald House or at Special Olympics, and nobody really knows we were there, and we're working under somebody else's banner. So what I'm looking for, this is what I feel are the characteristics of the best projects for club growth. a unique project that provides specific goods or services to the target population and includes hands-on development, not just writing a check, people doing something. That promotes the Civitan and the club name and mission. Again, people have to know you're there. If you aren't the leader of the project, at least be a co-leader, be on the sign, if you will. An opportunity to interact directly with the target population. Again, not check writing, but actually, touching people physically, emotionally, safely. Opportunity to learn, demonstrate leadership, fundraising, promotion, or other personal skills. And this can involve non-member prospects as volunteers. One of the things that I got as feedback early on in trying to build clubs is, I can join any other organization and just, show up as a volunteer and so forth. And maybe there's something to that. But if you want to develop and demonstrate leadership, fundraising, these are things that can change your life and or your career. And that makes it important and important enough to join a service organization. Next. Project promotion. If you're going to do this, reach out to the other agencies serving the same population. ARC, Special Olympics, MRDD boards, sheltered workshops, whatever, and find out what they're doing and what they need. Maybe there's something that they'd like to have done. They can't do it, you can. Whatever, get some ideas. They can help you promote the project, build some partnerships. They might provide bodies and finances. There can be some real synergy there. Provide pre-written announcements to news media. Gee, where have I heard that before? Maybe at every international convention since I joined. Arrange for coverage. Post on Facebook and other social media, and then share it with your friends. Don't keep it a secret. Prepare signage that promotes Civitan and the club. Have club flyers and contact information and new member information. One of the clubs in my area, Vienna Civitan Club, has a fundraising promotion at a restaurant. They raise hundreds of dollars, about 50% of the revenue, and they have a table at the entrance and handouts, and the table has a presentation with pictures of projects that they do. So everyone that goes into that restaurant, whether they came for Civitan or not, leaves knowing who and what they are and what they do. Next. Any questions or comments? I haven't told you everything you need to know or everything that I know. If there's anything that you want to know, give me a call. I'm committed to building new clubs and new members. You know where I live, my phone number, and my email address. I will definitely get back to you. Thank you.
Awesome. John, thank you so much. I appreciate that update. A couple of thoughts I'd like to share, if it's okay, is going back to involving non-member prospects as volunteers. And, one of the things I think that an opportunity a lot of us miss when we have people that are not members that come to volunteer is asking their perspectives after the event is over. So, a lot of times we wrap around all the Civitan folks that, put on the event or put on the fundraiser and say, hey, let's do our debrief, what went well, what didn't go well, what can we do better next time? But when you start to incorporate some of those folks that maybe just showed up for a shift because somebody asked them, what did they think? What were their ideas? What do they think we can do better? It gives them some ownership in the experience, and then asking them to join your next committee meeting, right? To come and be part of it, especially if they've got some really good ideas or different perspectives that, could be really valuable. So I definitely encourage folks to pull those non-member volunteers in and get their perspectives, and then invite them to be part of it next time.
Al Harmon is the poster child for that, and Tony is the one who was the member that brought him into projects for a very long time before he finally joined.
Yeah, So that's always the joke is, we will keep inviting you to stuff and asking you to be part of it. And then eventually we make you a member and then we make you president immediately thereafter. So, because at that point, you know all the stuff, right? And then
Yeah.
you just run the thing. Another, John, I really liked was the partnering with the organizations. And so if you know that you're doing a hands-on project for maybe, maybe for an organization that has group homes, for example, for, for some folks, and like if you did a spring cleanup event or something for a group home, that inviting somebody from another organization that does similar type of work or, has groups homes as well to say, hey, come take a look at this project and see, give us some feedback. Is this something that we could do for you or something that you would like us to get involved in with you? So it's always, looking for those opportunities when you actually get a good either fundraiser or hands-on project to think of all the people that could benefit and see, what we do with that and leverage those for partnerships and volunteers. So I love John highlighting those. Does anybody have any other thoughts about the great ideas and tips? What's worked for you guys in the past that you might want to share about how to leverage your club projects to grow your club? All right. So with that, John, I will assume you have covered all of the bases and everybody is good and well informed, are going to take these tips and incorporate them in. And the reason that we asked John to make this presentation today is because we wanted to have, as our clubs are looking for projects to do for the Civitan Day of Service on March 25th, that, giving you some tips as you're planning those projects on how you can use them to bring more and attract more people into your club, as well as providing an impact to the community. So great.
This will be mentioned in my article for the regional newsletter. And I think maybe in 90 days, we should have an exam where everyone, answers questions and provides the projects that they've created as a result of this.
Perfect. Right. So, and then we'll give everyone will graduate successfully and they'll all get Civitan PhDs. I love it. I love it. Thank you. All right, John, appreciate your advice tonight and definitely can't wait to hear more about our club builds. I do just want to say, I know that there's 2 more club builds that are underway. So, and John, touched on one. So just wanted to share, I know, John, you'll give an update the next time, but there are 2 other club builds that are actively happening. So we set out as a region to commit to building 3 clubs. And I'm really excited that, we are not even 6 months into the year and all 3 are underway. So that always increases your chance of success when you start early and start often, which we have. So congratulations to everybody that's part of that effort. Okay. All right. So now I am so excited to turn it over to Scarlett. And first thing I want to do is thank Scarlett Thompson. I think everybody here knows, but is our executive director or executive EVP, executive vice president, whatever your title is, Scarlett. Sorry, you're just awesome, head of our Civitan International down in Birmingham. But in addition to that, she's got a wealth of experience and passion and working with people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. And so it was her idea, I think, and maybe some came out of some strategic planning, but definitely Scarlett took the lead on creating this partnership with the ARC as a national partnership for our organization to be able to help support, a partnership that would facilitate some more collaboration and support of our IDD communities within all of our club footprint. So the only other thing I want to say is I want to thank Scarlett for offering this. We had many people asking and kind of after they heard about it over the summer, asking for updates. And as I said, hot off the presses. So we're one of the first people, I think, that get to hear this. And so we're grateful for that, Scarlett. And with that, I will turn it over to you. And if you don't mind just doing the same and telling telling me when you need to flip the slides. I'll drive for you.
Absolutely. Thank you. Yes, this is hot off the presses. You guys are the second group to hear this. I presented this to the City of Vision Civitan Club, which is Dan Brown's home club, last night. And so we have been readying these materials ever since we announced at the convention that we were becoming corporate partners of the ARC. So I'm going to, but tonight I want to share those resources with you, but I also want to share a little bit of background beforehand as we go into the resources, tell you what's been done and tell you what we have to help clubs and members as they try to collaborate with agencies that serve people with IDD. So if you'll move to the next slide, I know today we are going to discuss working with people with IDD, and we're going to then talk about agencies as partners, talk about which agencies to look out for. John actually mentioned some in the project presentation just before mine. So some ways to reach out strategically, and then we're going to go into the ARC partnership and talk a little bit more about how those materials can even be used past the ARC, but with other groups. So the next slide is very well intended, I'm sure, by some Shriner volunteers who placed this billboard, but I wanted to show you first why words matter. And so, currently, there is a word in that billboard that we do not use. As Civitans, I hope you don't use it, but it was part of our vocabulary, I'm sure, decades ago, years ago. So it was very common to use that word. So Denise, if you'll go to the next slide, I can, remind you guys before you set forth with any kind of partnership with an agency that serves people with IDD, just some reminders about words mattering. So we really don't try to focus on the disability of the people we are trying to serve or people who we want to serve alongside with, right? Traditionally, we use what's called people first language, and that's where we focus on the person first and the disability second. And we've taught that for those of you who have been to workshops of mine or even to some other staff at Civitan over the last 5 or 6 years, we've really been trying to push that forward. But as a reminder, the R word is hurtful and should never be used. And I want to point out that in the partnership with the ARC, that's why the ARC is the ARC now, capital A, lowercase r, lowercase c. It used to stand for an acronym, but it does no longer. It's just the ARC. So instead of calling it the ARC partnership, which 20 years ago would have been correct at the time, it is the ARC. The other thing I want to mention before I get off this page is, you guys all know that I'm the mom to a young man with autism. He's 20 years old. He's going to college, majoring in graphic design. And I'm not a big fan of the word normal. Because what is that these days with anybody, not just, and what, special is another one that I'm a little opposed to as well, because everyone is special in their own right. And so just be mindful of the words that you use, because it will matter when you start forging these relationships. Okay, some other reminders next slide, as you work with people with IDD, this is the first bullet point, is something that's in our creed, and it's really the golden rule, right? Treat individuals as you would treat anyone else. There's no difference in how to treat someone with IDD versus a neurotypical person. Speak in your normal tone. You don't have to slow down, or you don't have to be loud. That's really insulting honestly to them. And just be aware of implicit bias. Don't assume anything. That's something I tell my staff anyway, with just any situation. Don't make assumptions. Most importantly, it's that first bullet point: treat individuals as you would treat anyone else. The key thing to note, though, is on the next slide. Many people think that people with IDD are the ones who should receive services, when they are a key part of just, civic engagement, volunteerism in our country. And there's many reasons why many folks have that perception, I guess. And that's because, it's a scary experience for some that have not ever served alongside people with IDD. Again, they're making assumptions because they don't know how to support that person. They haven't had conversations with that person. They don't have experience working alongside people with IDD, that a person with IDD may need supports. And that in itself is something new, right? They may need an electronic communications piece. They may need a direct support professional. And, that is scary for some folks. It may, at first may look like it's a little bit more work to work alongside that person, but honestly, it's not. Another big thing is accessibility. And I just watched this incredible webinar that my fundraising networking group put on about making events accessible. And from fundraisers to, and there's things that you really don't think about when you're planning projects and events and meetings that are relatively easy to make those things more accessible. So, we want to make sure that the things that we do are accessible to all. Okay. However, we all know and we believe in the emphasis of our mission statement. We believe people should be included, of all abilities should be included. And especially for people with IDD, and being inclusive, really empowers them. It builds their skill set. It helps them with future future work, their goals. It also builds friendships. And all in all, our community is not just one group of people. Our community our clubs should reflect the communities they serve. And so we just need to be focused on that. I mean, it's just an incredible opportunity. Okay. So let's talk about, so now we have the reminders, as we move forward, who should we connect with? There are agencies and organizations out there that have like-minded mission and vision statements. Okay. So what could that be? It could be your local ARC chapter. It could be your local Autism Society chapter, your local UCP chapter. Any other agency that provides direct services, whether it's housing, employment support, day programming, support groups for parents. We all have heard of these. We all have probably worked with these as Civitans, but there are some other places to check. And I was really excited to hear John mention a few as he was rambling off that list, John, that I was like, that's great. He knows that, because some people really don't. Each state has a form of a Council on Developmental Disabilities. Alabama has an Alabama Council on Developmental Disabilities, and they give out grants freely. In fact, I secured several of those in a previous job for various programs. Okay. So typically they know the whole community that we are wanting to look for to collaborate with. Okay. They know all of the players. And so it would be a really good, especially if you're in the state capital of your state, it'd be really good to try to secure a meeting with someone there and really brainstorm who you could work with. Many times that Council on Developmental Disabilities is like an arm of the state's like Department of Mental Health. But it doesn't have to be. So perhaps your state's Department of Mental Health can connect you to some places. They have newsletters, Facebook pages, things like that. Some other places where I have secured support, whether it's fundraising or recruited more volunteers for something that is specific to people with IDD, is preschools that cater to. So for instance, my son went to a very unique preschool that specifically catered to kids with autism. Okay. Behavioral therapists are encyclopedias of just resources in the community, because they're giving that information out to parents and to families. And so they actually honestly would be good Civitans if you have any in your community, because they see families affected by IDD all the time. That's their job. And so many of them are very passionate about that. I've gotten several of them to be some of my volunteers before, and as well as support groups for the groups that you see on the slide. Okay. Okay. So once you figure out which agencies, like what I suggest if your club, or you're looking to build a club, or you're looking to grow membership or do projects with an agency that serves people with IDD, once you have sort of your target list of organizations, really you need to get to know people within that organization. And so I listed a few people here that I would suggest that some of these agencies may employ. Okay, so executive director is obvious. The development marketing staff are typically the folks in those agencies that do the fundraising and the volunteer management and all that stuff. But I would not forget about the board members of that agency, which are usually readily available on those agency websites, and you can connect with them and have coffee with them and share about this like-minded mission of Civitan and their agency. But one thing that you guys should know is there has been a huge effort lately, intensified, and it was really dampened by COVID, obviously. But I used to work for an ARC, and right as I was leaving the ARC to come to Civitan, the federal government came out with a new waiver that involved community service and getting the people served by agencies like the ARC and like, UCP out in the community. And these agencies actually get paid for doing so. So there has been an intensified effort in the last probably 5 to 10 years of community involvement in these agencies. So they're looking for something to do, and we can be that something to do, whether it's join our club, do projects together, or even build a new club within that agency. Okay. So once you figure out who you need to know and go to, you need to reach out strategically. So next slide, Denise. Thank you so much for driving tonight. I listed some things here. These are very familiar to a lot of you as recruiters, I'm sure, and club builders. And, it's like going on a date with somebody and dating somebody. You spend some time with them, you spend some money on them, you do stuff that they enjoy, right? So study them. Cold call is okay to ask for a discovery meeting, but integrate yourself into their world and try to integrate them into yours. So that's for instance, that's like asking
I didn't tell you at first.
volunteering for a fun run that they're doing, just for that agency, but you're volunteering as a Civitan. Maybe you send them FYIs of what's going on in your Civitan club by email. Maybe you invite them to speak to your club, or invite them to do a project, just like John suggested earlier, right? I would not invite them to a meeting unless they are the speaker. You want to present your best side, and I don't mean that in any negative way, but what are the best things we do as Civitans? We serve, right? So let's show off our best side to them. Again, just like dating, you're not going to show them what you look like without makeup in that first date, right? Or at least I didn't. Just these are some ways to reach out. So Denise, if you'll go to the next one, some things to remember as you do meet with those folks and have meetings and start learning about them, studying them, and getting to know them. Really, these are some things to do in regards to just making sure that you pinpoint what is the same about both organizations, and then how can you capitalize on them, as well as, how does this benefit this agency, right? How does it benefit? And how will it benefit Civitan, and play that up? And it's really important, honestly, to start saying we, and to listen to what they need, so you can see how Civitan can fit that gap, okay, or fit that niche is what I'm saying. So just a few things there. So speaking of fitting a niche, the ARC. So I want to thank the ARC, first of all, for some of this stuff came from them. Some of this came from my experience, and they allowed me to use it at the workshop this past summer in San Antonio. But the ARC was a natural fit because they're great when it comes to serving people directly. What some of their chapters do not have is a volunteer arm, an opportunity for their clients to serve. Okay, so I want to tell you a little bit more about why I sort of know about the ARC. In particular, you'll see some pictures from my career at the ARC. It was a little over 4 years, and I got to secure some amazing grants that benefited the lives of over 800 people with IDD in Alabama. Started the Wings for Autism program in Alabama. And you'll see the lower left-hand side. I got to go to the ARC National Conventions and their disability policy seminars in DC every year. And so you'll probably even recognize the lady at the top left with me in that picture. That's Mary Frances. Opening, all kinds of employment support, life enriching programs that we had to find money for. And so I was just involved in the whole work of the ARC. So let me tell you about what the ARC does nationally. Next slide. Thank you. So the ARC is the nation's largest organization that supports people with IDD in some capacity, been around for 7 decades. Their beginning was much like some lines from our history. I've read and I've always been told that in the 40s and 50s, we had some Civitan clubs that financially supported special education programs in the classroom, in the school systems, because there were parents that just wanted their children to have the same things and the same opportunities. And that's how the ARC really got started as well. 600 chapters across the United States, thousands of staff, natural potential partner for us, right? Natural fit. We have the same vision. We can provide them something like this volunteer arm. They can provide us people and new information and knowledge and opportunity. So if we'll go to the next slide, Denise. I don't know why that one's in there doubly. Let me tell you about how we got started. So we became, with board approval, we became a national corporate sponsor. And we, doing that was a financial support. But I think it was well worth it. It wasn't a tremendous donation to the ARC, but what it did allow us to do is to become a part of their world. Okay. The first thing that allowed us to do was to put ads in some of their e-newsletters. So you'll see the copy of the ad here. Jeannie, you'll see your friend Penny in it. But we got the opportunity to put ads in a newsletter that went to all of their constituents nationwide, and then another one that went to all of their staff nationwide. And then we got promoted on their website, and we had an exhibit at their recent convention. So you'll recognize the lady in the next picture with me, President O'Toole. So we got to go to Denver back in November, and we had a genuine exhibit booth, which I'm sure you guys have done before at some community fair promoting your Civitan club, right? And so we did the same. And there were so many people that came up to us that worked for ARCs that said, I didn't know this existed. This is awesome. We don't have anything at our chapter that does this, and so we got their information, they got ours. So let me show you a few of the tools that we created. First of all, we created this flyer. It's front and back, and it's basically the messaging is unite with us so we can amplify both of our missions and fulfill both of our missions, right? And then the back of it talks about who we are. And so we pass these out, and they are on the website today. And I'm going to tell you where this link is so y'all can, look at the stuff. But they're not ARC specific. It can be used for really any collaboration with another nonprofit, even if they don't serve people with IDD. Maybe they have a passion for an even broader mission. But so that we used, and then we have a banner, as you saw, that's a stand-up banner, and you can see again it's pretty generic. It has nothing truly about the ARC, but it can be printed off. It's on the website as well, if anybody ever wanted that. And let's see what's next. A print ad that was put in their printed program at convention, and they had over 1,000 people attending that convention. And so again, this print ad can practically be used anywhere, you know, when you're looking at collaborations. Meantime, if y'all recall, we also received a mailing list of who attended their convention. And I sent out a note today to district leadership that said, hey, I have these contact lists for each district, each state actually, and I can send those out, but I'm going to be very careful with people's information, and I'll just directly send it to you, not post it anywhere. But what that does is we have a name, we have a phone number, we have an email, and it will help us track down if we're really serious about partnering with an ARC in one city. Hopefully we have their info, and we connect the dots, right? ARC contributed to our convention. They helped me with the disability inclusive workshop. I know Denise was there. I think the Walters were there. And then they did a video, you know, congratulating us on the partnership. And you'll see a screenshot from Peter Burns, their CEO. If you were at convention, you saw it played, but you know, he was excited about the partnership. And then he also shared his thankfulness for us awarding one of their executives with the World Citizenship Award. So other tools that we have that I want to tell you about is, again, the mailing list that I can send, an email signature, which Denise, I probably should have sorted the slides better. Let's forward on, and you'll see the email signature. And the reason why you would use this, if you were reaching out to an ARC, like a cold call email kind of thing, you would probably put this as your email signature, you know. So the ARC actually provided this for us, which I thought was pretty cool. And then next is I've created a sample call script and a sample email verbiage that is basically a cold call or first time contact. And again, can be used with any nonprofit. You can adapt it, you can revise it, but it basically gets to the point. And then lastly, the ARC has provided us with a joint news release that talks about our partnership. So you have some credibility as you go into these organizations. So all that said, I will put in the chat much more to come. Because there are a few more tools I want to take this further. So what's next here? It may be another organization that we try to partner with, Best Buddies. You know, I'm just thinking, you know, we need to figure that out. We continue to partner with the ARC. We maybe take it up a level, try to build some clubs within some of these ARC chapters and be very strategic about it. Collaborative projects. But I think a lot of these things can be used in different situations to form partnerships for the good of Civitan. So I'm going to put in the chat box the link to find these tools. Okay. And if you're on the Leadership Council, you got that in your boardable email, if you know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
And contact me if you guys would like those contacts that we got at the convention that we attended, and we can work from there. But Nate, I saw you said your area has multiple ARCs. It sure does. I mean, I don't think there's a state in the transcontinental US that doesn't have one. You know, Alaska may not have one, but I know every state in the US does, and it may have several. So any questions from the group?
Scarlett, I just have one question. You talked about you shared with us the press release, and that the ARC was able to share their executives. Have they done anything in outreach to their ARC executives to share about the partnership with Civitan and to encourage them to reach out to us as a potential opportunity as well, so that we're kind of, if we're both working from
Yeah,
both.
I was concerned about that as well, because the local chapters may not even heard of us. Has
Correct.
there been bi-directional communication? Because none of them have reached out to our group.
That's a good question, Denise, and Nate, thank you for adding on to that. So what we have done, we are asking for that, Denise, but we've tried to lay the groundwork for it. So with us being a sponsor, they've seen our logo, they've seen our ads and their newsletters. And so that is something, that we have asked for. And I think that we will get, now I will say when we were at that convention, there were ARC executives introducing us to other ARC executives. And so that was good. But I'll continue to keep you guys posted. When I brought it to the ARC senior development officer that I'm dealing with, he was basically saying, yes, just take this news release into the chapter. This should help. The email signature should help, but also let me know if anything else should help. So I need to hear that from you guys as you go into some of these places. If you try,
because
if you try.
I tried reaching out to them and they never even heard of us
Yeah, that's
in
very
our
possible.
area. And we have one in Dauphin County. We have state one in Harrisburg. We have Dauphin County, Cumberland County, Perry County, and a bunch of them.
Yeah.
And Harrisburg is separated by a river called the Susquehanna, and there's the East Shore and West Shore. I'm on the East Shore, but there's a lot of people who are on the West Shore, and it's still Harrisburg area.
Yeah,
And they
Nate,
have two separate arts.
Yeah, Nate, thanks for bringing up a really important point that we may have multiple ARCs within that are serviced by one club. And so the question is, how do you kind of figure out, who to partner with or who to reach out to first? And I just had a thought, Scarlett, if you would be interested in pitching this to your contact there, would it be helpful to have almost an info session, inviting Civitan clubs? So for example, our Region 4 Civitan clubs could get invited, all of the ARC executives from the area come together and just kind of talk through some of these partnership things, what's the benefit to the ARC?
Yeah, it sounds good. The
Civitan,
problem is,
and have people with the option of dialing in. If it's coming from them and coming from us, then maybe we could get some good folks together to have that conversation.
Oh, that's a good idea.
yeah, so maybe a connect for people like me who are unable to attend the district meeting, maybe just having a session like this, a collaborative session where people from the ARC join the Connect to Thrive.
Yeah, I think we'd want it to be a separate meeting, Nate, but I think the point is
Or
still there
something
that
like
we have
this.
a special meeting. Yep, absolutely. All right. Okay, Jeannie, I see you have had your hand up patiently for a while, so thanks for.
Well, one thing, Scarlett, you mentioned that, we have our we're in the e-newsletters, okay, which is probably just like a little, like Civitan International, but that's not telling them who it is. What about if we were to, you could write some things that would go out in the newsletter, because just like our meetings, you're never going to get all the chapter people to attend.
Yes.
Okay, but maybe it's a wider breadth if you have it sent out on a national email newsletter, like what is Civic, because you've seen the symbol, you've seen our logo in previous newsletters. So who are we? We're just seen as a person's giving money to help provide the newsletter. That's how it's being seen. It's not being shown what are we trying to do.
Right.
Jeannie, I love that idea. And I think, what if we asked our clubs, I know we've had successful ARC partnerships in the past, and Scarlett, maybe you guys have one, and having it be either a video or an article or something, but almost a testimonial of here's what a successful Civitan ARC partnership can look like, and then send that out to them and send it out to us. And so that people can kind of have a model to say, oh, okay, that's how we could approach this, or here's different ways.
Yes.
I love that idea.
Great minds think alike, ladies, because I would love to have more examples, but Lloyd Lewis has gotten me a quote, And Bonnie Ruth is getting me a quote from the park down there that she built, the club that she built in Florida. And so I need some more examples. I reached out to Sly because I know the Civitan Club of Baltimore does a lot with the ARC there.
Yes.
So if there's any more of you guys, I would love all the testimonials, a picture and a quote, a picture and a quote. And that's, I think, the next layer here.
Great. Yeah.
Yes, the challenge that we have in our area is that there's a lot of groups like the Rotary Club, the Autism Society, and I'm actually on the board of the Autism Society, and they're having this Logan Run, and they want to do it all themselves with minimal help by Civitan, and I've tried to have them opened up with being a board member for both, but actually being more of an active participant than just people who volunteer for a Christmas party.
Mhm,
That's been a big challenge.
mhm.
Yeah. So I think
Big
maybe we
because
can
they've been
share
doing
some of
sitting that way for over 30 years, and to suddenly open it up, they see it as threatening.
Yeah, that's a good point, Nate. And so I think that will address kind of the unknown, right? Of what does this partnership look like? How can it really benefit me? Because it does involve changing and changing.
Yes, and they're
if it's
refusing to
working.
change.
Yeah,
Many
that's
of them,
been
this
a lot of,
organization.
yeah, a lot of us don't like change. In fact, if you do, you are in the minority of liking change. So I think that, what helps people with change is seeing the outcome, seeing what, the benefits are, and seeing how it can be a successful.
Yes, yes, and I know that many
Yeah.
of you, like me, I'm not on Facebook, so I refuse to join, so I don't want to be pressured into it. I'm on LinkedIn. I have all the contacts from LinkedIn, and I find LinkedIn to be more professional than Facebook, and the fact that it's not prioritized is also problematic.
Yep, Nate, you definitely have expressed your LinkedIn. I think they should start paying you for all of the LinkedIn promotion you have been doing in all of these meetings. But yeah, I think that that's to the point. Different people connect in different ways in different places. So it's really important for us to have a presence in all of them where we want to connect with people. So thanks, Nate, for reminding us. Carol, I see your hand is up.
We had some of the same problems, Nate, with Special Olympics years ago. Local area directors in one city said, no, we don't really want you. Area directors in other cities said, we can't get enough of you. How else would you like to participate also? Thank you for running an entire set of games, so on and so forth. So sometimes it's just a personality issue. You may have to wait it out till that person changes positions, but try a different geography to see if you can get somebody in a different geography who is, especially because you mentioned that there are several, somebody in a different geography, he's a little more approachable or amenable to having Civitans get involved. Because
Yes, but Autism
this was
Society
back
is
in the-
just the whole greater Harrisburg area. It's not like the ARC where there's Dauphin County and Perry County.
Yeah, Nate, that's
Yeah.
something, another point that you bring up, and Carol, thanks for bringing it up. There are many people out there who could benefit from the passion and commitment of Civitans. So when you knock on a door and they don't want to answer, or they close the door in your face, just keep knocking to the next door. Don't spend time and energy there, because there are others.
Yeah.
We just have to look to find them. So if you're not getting receptiveness, not to say that that's a door shut forever, as Carol said, that could be a door open later. So you want to keep in contact, or at least keep tabs on what's going on with the organization with the tips that Scarlett shared. But I wouldn't get frustrated or spending energy there, it's just not the right time, or it's not the right situation. So move on to the next, because there are no shortage of people who Civitan can help in our communities. So really, thank you for bringing that point to it. We are wrapping up. We're down to our last few minutes. So I definitely wanted to we're not going to have a time for a club debrief, but fortunately we're a small group, so I'm not really sure anybody wants to have a full club debrief. So we'll move on to final dates. But Scarlett, I know you are always available if people want to email you questions or anything that they may ideas that they may want to share with you. Certainly Scarlett@civitan.org is how you get in touch with Scarlett. So please, I encourage you to reach out. I know her team is as my one of the favorite things that the CEO of the bank I work for said is, we're going to throw everything on the wall and we're going to see what sticks, and we're going to keep doing what sticks, and we're going to leave everything else behind. And her and her team are doing no shortage of throwing things on the wall to see what works. And so that takes a lot of courage, and it takes a lot of dedication and effort. So I want to thank you.
know that, and I don't want
for
this
giving that.
organization to become a dinosaur, and that's one of my concerns that we addressed in our meeting. There are several members who think that some of the policies are not innovative anymore and not collaborative enough, not reaching out. And that's what's concerning about some of this stuff. It's 5 years too late in my mind.
Well, Nate, we can't change the past. We can only change the future. And so if you've got folks that are saying that, please invite them to join us at the Connect to Thrive and share their ideas and perspectives, because the more information and more understanding and perspectives we have, then the more effective our solutions will be to make sure that we survive and thrive in the future, hence the name Connect to Thrive. So thank you. With that, let's wrap up with the upcoming dates. The good news is, if you forgot February 22nd, you can try again in March. March 22nd, same date, same time, Connect to Thrive, actually same link. So if you have one before, we'll make sure we get the right one out to you guys in plenty of time to get that. In addition, we've got the Junior Civitan All-In Summit. So Jeannie and our director are going to be coming down to Birmingham to join the Civitan International Board of Directors to have a combined event, and it's amazing. So if you haven't sent in your money yet to contribute, please do to Kinley and her fundraising. And then don't forget the Civitan Days of Service, the weekend of the 24th through the 26th. Just a reminder, if your club is doing them, share the hashtags, join us on the 22nd. We'll give you an update and a refresh on all ways to market and communicate for our Civitan Days of Service, so that we can go viral, or whatever the kids do these days to get put up in the top of the feed, or all of the social media strategies. We're going to employ all of them so that people can see Civitan, see what we do, and hopefully make an impact and want to join us. And then just a reminder of save the date for April 22nd. We're doing another virtual spring meeting for our Region 4 district, and that will be from 9 a.m. to noon. And Nate, to answer your questions, awards, updates, training, all good things that will be beneficial for our clubs and our members. And with that, I will.
Is there going to be future dates in April and May for Connect to Thrive?
Yeah, so
Or-
April will get skipped because we have the district meeting, but May and June we'll have Connect to Thrive meetings, and the Leadership Council is going to take a look and see if we're going to make any adjustments, or we're going to keep it the same. You know, we changed it from the first quarter to the second quarter. We switched the Wednesdays so that we could make sure that we were making it available to all Civitan. So we'll take a look and see if we want to shift that again. So we'll let you know that, Nate, as soon as we make that decision. But great question there. All right, so to wrap up, let's keep hitting the ground running in 2023, and let's be our February doers and turn into March achievers. So thank you guys. See you all next month on March 22nd at our Connect to Thrive. And thank you again to Scarlett for joining us and John for giving us all those valuable tips on how to make our Civitan days of service and partnerships make Civitan and our clubs thrive. So thank you.
Okay.